Is this a new cut from Elias? Album dropped on July 23rd. Is this Elias right here? I'm not sure.
No, this is Eric Clapton.
Eric Clapton. Well, let me just say he sounds like he's nothing on Elias. I did not get a chance to hear the album.
Fantastic, by the way.
I tried hearing some of the cuts from the album. The problem is he kept getting cut off on Monday Night Raw this past week.
It's on YouTube.
It's on. I figured it would be on YouTube.
I went through and someone did the brotherly thing and
uploaded the whole album.
Uploaded the album. It's all on one clip, so it's like all the music's kind of blended. So
we'll have to include maybe get rid of Eric Clapton, slide him right out of there.
Well, hey, Eric Clapton is very, very good. But Elias is, he's a legend.
Yeah, so we'll have to slide out some Eric Clapton and slide in for our rejoins. We're back on the program. This is the Heel to the Face. You can follow us on Twitter at Heel to the Face. It's the same place you find us on YouTube. Search Heel to the Face Podcast and subscribe. Social media is a place you can find Icebreaker21 and myself, Jared Wicks. And the most important part of this segment, because it is our social media Smackdown of the week. We're going to start things off with our Twitter question of the week, and it harkens back to the WWE Women's Evolution pay-per-view event coming up. So I asked this question this week. What would you pick, if anything, over having tickets to this event? Now, this event sounds great. We're all going to watch it because we're not doing anything else. We absorb everything professional wrestling, especially WWE, most of us. But the question is, if you had a chance, would a Raw ticket be more important than this Evolution pay-per-view? Would a SmackDown ticket be more important than having a ticket to this pay-per-view? If you, maybe not one or the other, but if you had both, then all of a sudden would you say, yeah, maybe not Raw or SmackDown, but if I had Raw and SmackDown, yes, that's better than this pay-per-view? Or are you in our fourth category that says, give me Raw tickets, give me SmackDown tickets, give me both tickets and throw them in the garbage. I want tickets to see Evolution most important. And that's what 64% of our audience said. They said yes, Evolution over both. But a funny thing is, of all the shows, SmackDown, if you're going to go to one show, Raw got no votes. So essentially, Raw is only important over Evolution if you have SmackDown tickets to go with it.
Yeah.
And then SmackDown's good enough.
That's an interesting result there.
Yes. So what about you? What if you could get tickets, if you got Raw tickets, SmackDown tickets, and Evolution, would you need both tickets to Raw and SmackDown? Would you need one or the other? Or would you pick Evolution overall?
I'm going Evolution overall. It's one of those things where...
Because remember, let me just preface it, Raw and SmackDown both have divas, so it's not like you're not going to see them.
Here's the difference, though. How many Raw and SmackDowns are there every year? 52. This is a first-time event. It's history in the making.
And this is WWE is listening and hoping that a lot more people are like you.
Yes, that to me... If I had to choose, I'm going to Evolution because it's the first time this has ever happened, and I mean you're gonna have people that are gonna talk about like they were there, which they weren't there. Like I was at the arena. The people there's gonna be
is this that landmark event? I know it's a big event, but people are gonna say like
it's possible. We don't know. We're not there yet.
They might brag they were at a WrestleMania.
This is it's possible.
Mick Foley thrown off the cell.
It's possible because if this event goes off very well and it's very well received, it's a good pay-per-view from start to finish. A lot of people could say, "Man, I was there." Wink, wink. To me,
so should we go? I mean, it's the Nassau Coliseum. It's a little bit of a drive. It's the problem where it is in proximity to New York City is it's about 45 minutes after New York City in proximity to where we're located right now in Syracuse.
Maybe I can.
Maybe we should find out what ticket prices are. That's another big curiosity that I have. Are ticket prices going to be that of any wrestling pay-per-view? Is it going to be, $500 to sit in the first two rows, $100 to sit in the lower level,
I think
$50 to sit upstairs?
I think it's going to be a standard pay-per-view cost.
You don't think it's going to be like for $40 I'm not going to have like a floor seat?
No. I think it's because it's going to be a special event. I think it's going to be more like a pay-per-view. Like pay-per-view tickets.
Now, here's a question.
Not WrestleMania tickets, but your monthly pay-per-view.
Now, here's a question. Do you think it's going to have the same... And here's what I'm talking about, is the one and only non-ECW One Night Stand pay-per-view where they had their own standalone pay-per-view. They did it in what you're talking about earlier on our segment of a smaller arena. They had it at the James Brown Arena in Augusta, Georgia. is probably a city the size of, well, you haven't heard about it. So it's a city that might have a single A baseball team kind of place.
They also are the home of the Masters.
Home of the Masters, yes. So that's what it's home to. But the city size itself,
it's not that big of a city.
If you're familiar with Utica, New York, or I'm trying to even think in Pennsylvania, like not even Harrisburg would be bigger. Somewhere in, I can't even think of it.
Scranton?
Bigger than, no, Scranton's bigger than Augusta.
You think
I'm
so?
trying to think like this would be Altoona, Pennsylvania, or State College, Pennsylvania, or it's a smaller, not a media market. Obviously, it's got the Masters itself, but if you're working in the Augusta news department, your goal is probably to get out of the Augusta news department and move on to a bigger city than Augusta. Sure. So it was, and the arena fit, I think that the crowd was announced at about like 5,800. That was close to a sellout with 5,800. I heard they still had a lot of tickets left over on the non-hard cam side, but the place held about 5,800. And obviously the pay-per-view sucked, but
that's a nice way of putting it.
What would you think this event would go on without the network? Because obviously that December to Dismember pay-per-view of ECW I'm speaking of was the lowest bought pay-per-view in WWE history. That was associated, obviously, with ECW, but let's be real, it was WWE. Lowest bought WWE pay-per-view in history because of the fact that, other than the fact that ECW sucked at the time, but they're like, I'm not going to pay $39.99, to watch
for that
an event that's not going to have John Cena and all the big names.
It's going to be crap.
So if this event was $39.99, do you think it would be the lowest bought pay-per-view in WWE history?
No.
Do you think it'd be close? Do you think it'd be a low ball pay-per-view, the lowest of the year, let's say?
No, I don't think so.
So you have high hopes for this event. You think the tickets for this event are going to sell really well? I personally was in the category of if I had tickets for Raw and SmackDown. I couldn't take away from having two back-to-back nights over this event.
See, to me, I'm with the majority. Here's the thing. I
love women's wrestling and I love the matches they put on, but I just feel that it's tough when you segment it, and that's why the brand.
So you don't want to be part of history.
It's not. It's not that.
That would be cool. Being there, and even though being a part of it as a fan, like that's. As a wrestling fan, I think it's a pretty good.
I look at it a lot.
It might not be a bucket list, but something like that as a wrestling fan, like. I was at the first ever all-women's pay-per-view. Like, that's pretty cool.
It's not a coincidence that we don't have dual brand or not split brand pay-per-views anymore, like SmackDown only, Raw only. And the reason is because a lot of people, and the reason is SmackDown's not a highly attended event, is while it's a great show, people want to see everybody. They don't want to put money down to see some of the guys. They don't want to.
Yeah, I get that.
The reason the pay-per-views didn't sell too well or the attendance didn't sell too well because SmackDown, while it's a great show, they're sitting there going, I don't want to drive 2.5 hours from where I am or 2 hours or, pay $350 for good seats to see an event where Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are all healthy, but they're not there. Braun Strowman's not there. Brock Lesnar's not there. The big John Cena's not there. Roman Reigns isn't there. So I feel that maybe that might be the problem here. Is people love women's wrestling. Do they want to go to a WWE branded event where they know that none of the WWE guys in which they know, not one of them is going to be there?
Yeah, but to your point,
it's solely the women.
But to your point, you talked about the split brand. It's not a split if you're a hardcore women's fan. You're getting everything you want because everybody's going to be there from the past to the present and the future. So you're going to get your flavor.
I know, but I kind of look at this as the reason why they don't have 205 Live only pay-per-views, because we're taking a division. It's a division, and we're making an event out of one division. We don't have tag team only pay-per-views. You know what I mean? We don't have, until now, women's only pay-per-views. We don't have cruiserweight only pay-per-views.
This is WWE's, tip of the cap to how great the women's divisions really, progressed and evolved. You see what I did there? Over the years, I think this is kind of a tip of the cap, and I think women's wrestling. Matches. I would say matches. For example, like when Bayley and Sasha, when they were at Takeover. I think it was Takeover Brooklyn a couple years ago. Like when you had those kind of matches, I had a feeling the wheels were turning on something like this. Even back then, I don't think this whole concept came up, I would say, in the last 5 years. I would say it's more in the last couple years. I'd say the last 3 years or so. you're seeing this whole shift where, okay, you're not divas. You're not just there to, for sex appeal. You're there to be performers just like the guys.
No, I understand, but I also can't help but think of when 205 Live and NXT were going to go on their joint branded house show tour, and it didn't take long before all of a sudden they were advertising Matt Hardy versus Bray Wyatt in their series of matches to like headline those events, because they're like, the faces are not doing it. We need to have, John Cena's or whatever, on this as well. The Greatest Royal Rumble thing was another thing of its own to have all the stars involved, but this kind of reminds me of that 205 Live NXT thing where they tried to be like, oh, NXT's popular and 205 Live not so but NXT's so popular. Let's send these guys. It wasn't NXT, sorry. It was the NXT UK guys. It's going to be NXT UK and 205 Live going out on their own, and they realized that they didn't have the selling power.
Yeah.
So they needed
duh.
Yeah.
Duh.
And then they needed something from the WWE that everyone's accustomed to sell a WWE show.
Here's my thing. I'm setting the bar pretty high for these women, and I think they're going to smash it. I think they're going to jump over the bar.
So we're not going to see featuring one men's match between Roman Reigns and I don't think we are either.
No. I don't. I think it's going to be a great. I know it's only a couple months away. I'm really excited to see this pay-per-view.
No,
I dropped the ball on the Nassau Coliseum attendance. Hopefully my friends in Long Island can forgive me so we can maybe stay down there while we go.
One last question. Do you think they're being too ambitious with going after a regular size arena, 15,000 people?
I think it's very ambitious. I hope it.
You think they should be going for an arena
like
maybe
a War Memorial,
like an
AHL arena, like 6,000, 7,000, maybe 10. Yeah. I wouldn't go any further. I hope it works. I really do. I just hope it doesn't fall flat. Because these women deserve it, and I think they've done it.
Yeah, because the All In event is going at a place that holds 10,000.
Yeah, and that's. To me, I think WWE is very confident that the women have enough drawing power. You're going to have the Charlotte Flairs, the Sasha Banks, the Baileys, Alexa Bliss, and don't forget our new favorite, WWE's new favorite toy, Ronda Rousey.
Yeah. And Ronda Rousey, I think Ronda Rousey will be the Matt Hardy, Bray Wyatt of what I was.
It's going to be the main event.
She's going to definitely be front and center on this event.
Main event.
And I feel that this event might not even happen if she wasn't involved. I feel like as soon as they had a face,
maybe.
Because again, I think the women's division's great, but finally now that Ronda Rousey is there, now that you have a megastar to put on there, all of a sudden she can lead the way.
That's a fair point.
All right, so that's going to do it for our Twitter question of the week. Let's move on to our tweet of the week. Brandon, you got a tweet of the week?
Yes. All right. So it took me a little bit here. Let's see. This is at James. I think that's a bumblebee emoji. It's at James Hates People. That's kind of a great Twitter. So kind of what we've talked about, because this kind of brings to my point about Roman Reigns. I know you're not a supporter of Roman Reigns by any means. So the tweet is, wrestling fans, if you are attending SummerSlam and you don't want to see Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, again, walk out of the arena after the second to last match. Your booing won't do shit. Hijacking his show won't do shit. Vince doesn't give a fuck if you boo. And then it goes on.
Even if you leave, though, right? You still paid for tickets.
And then he will, however, care if half the audience goes home before the main event starts. I think James makes a great point. I think he makes a good point. And we've talked about it before. A reaction is better than no reaction. Whether you get cheered or you get booed, Vince loves it because guess what? It's dollar signs.
Well, if you're there and you leave early, you still already paid to be there. You're only screwing yourself as well.
Yeah, but it's not a good look for. It's not a good
look on TV.
Not a good look on TV. It's not a good look on TV. And then people are like, oh, well, Roman Reigns really fell flat. Which I don't see that happening by any means. But I get James's point. I think he's onto something there. And I've been one of those people where if you don't like something, like hell, if New Day was going to be the main event, I would leave. I leave early because I'm not a New Day fan. I'm
going to leave early.
I leave right before they're on. I would leave early. If their match was the main event, I would leave.
If their match was, here's where I always take it. I always feel that if New Day was the main event or something like that was the main event, I stay. And the reason I stay is there's a reason why they made them the main event. I've watched lots of events where I'm like, why is this going on over the Royal Rumble? Why is the Royal Rumble not the main event? Why is this SmackDown Championship match main event? Oh, because Undertaker's going to return. That's why. Or the ring's going to clap. Like, I always have a feeling is they're not putting New Day on the main event for them to have a regular New Day tag team finish.
I'll take my chance. I'll take my chances. I'll take my chances. Watch later. Because I agree with what James is saying. I think it's a great point. Vince is making money off of you being there, for the most of the show. He's getting the paid ticket, yes, no doubt about it. But he cares about the money, yes, because you have to have money to keep the business going, obviously. But it's not a good look to his corporate sponsors that pay for TV time if the fans are not there.
I get it. I mean, I think that would be the best statement, the best group statement you could make. That's the best thing you can do. There's really nothing better.
And I've always said this.
Other than not buying tickets, but that would be tough because someone's going to buy a ticket.
Or,
in your place.
I mean, James kind of takes it to a little bit extreme, which I'm sure people have done that. What other people could do is, they could, do this. Don't make a peep at all. Just sit there. Vince, you don't think Vince is watching every second? Vince, I'm surprised gets 3 hours of sleep at night.
They pipe in crowd noise sometimes though, so that's a little. That's
but you can look at the crowd though. Yeah. You can look at the crowd. If you see the crowd clapping their hands and going nuts, you can also see that when the crowd's just like I've watched 205 Live matches, not to diss them, but I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, I think a lot of people are going to go to the concessions or hit the head.
Yeah, well, because it happens after. A lot of people do take off for 205 Live. It takes place after SmackDown hits the air.
And that's
the reason why they add a match after 205 Live that involves SmackDown stars to get you to stay.
And bringing it back to the women's thing for a second. Back in the day, and this is not a slight on women's wrestling at all, a lot of times the women's matches were bathroom breaks for people.
Not a lot of times. That was every time. That was me. Well, at WrestleMania, I waited for the women's match to start to take off. I think one of the WrestleManias I went to, the ECW match was the bathroom break.
You went to hit the
ECW tag team match back in the ECW Rebirth.
You went to hit the head? Yeah.
So,
what's your tweet?
My tweet has to do with SummerSlam. Nick Hossman, who's a contributor to WrestleZone, so he's at WZ Rebel. He's quite a big name. He might be verified if I'm not checking at the moment. But he said, the moment you get told we're changing the finish and have decided to go with Reigns versus Lesnar at SummerSlam, and I don't know when this exactly is from, but it's a camera shot from Monday Night Raw.
That's Elias. That's the whole Elias thing, because Elias is coming back out, I believe.
So it's Michael Cole and Corey Graves talking to the camera like they do on Monday Night Raw. Then all of a sudden, Michael Cole looks a little disturbed, starts putting his hands in the air, and Corey Graves just looks disinterested, throws a pencil up in the air, and puts his head down in disgust.
I believe it's the Elias thing, which, what's kind of funny with the whole Elias thing? Elias and Corey Graves are from the same city. They're both Pittsburgh guys. I wonder if they're like Corey Graves, genuinely, that's one of his best friends. You know what I mean?
I don't know, because I think Corey Graves came in a lot earlier than Elias. I think Elias is kind of newer. I don't think.
But I think Elias is. I mean, obviously, Elias is featured.
I know some of Corey Graves' decent friends. I know some of them. I don't know, not just from Pittsburgh, but I know a guy named John McChesney, who was an independent wrestler around here in a lot of the Rochester, New York guys. He's pretty close friends with Luke Harper. I'd probably say is probably one of the guys he might be closest with in the locker room because of the fact that he's gone through the indies with him. Probably people like Daniel Bryan. I bet you he's huge friends with Daniel Bryan. Just the guys who he's kind of
grown up with, so to speak.
Yeah, those are the guys. Because I remember, like I've said before, Corey Graves was outside WrestleMania 23, looking to go in just like myself as a fan in Detroit, and he was with indie star then John McChesney, and John McChesney was riding the roads at that time with the likes of Luke Harper and who else can I even think of it? I know Luke Harper. I mean, AJ Styles was starting to get he was riding the road a little bit. He was in Impact Wrestling at the time, but he was doing a lot of indie shows. Nigel McGuinness, we've had him featured here in the studio before. That's another guy. So those are probably the guys Corey Graves is probably most fans of or friends with in the back. I'm Daniel Bryan, and Daniel Bryan, obviously another one who was also running the roads with the indies in 2007. When Corey Graves,
I just wonder because I feel like this push with Elias is
and CM Punk. We all know about that, but they're a little out.
We definitely talked about that. I just wonder because, they're from the same city, and from everything I've seen, it seems like Elias is very likable from the locker room. I mean, who I hear is a very likable person.
Corey Graves and Kurt Angle big friends because they're both from the same city.
It's possible. I just wonder because I wonder if like it's played up more because they're boys. You know how that goes. Like there's like Braun Strowman like comes off as like this this monster, a monster in the bank. But like if you look on social media, like he seems like just like the chillest dude.
Yeah, he's a big country boy.
Yeah, he's a big. I don't like to use the word redneck, but he's like a big redneck.
I mean, I think he quite admitted he's got like country strong tattooed on his arm.
Yeah.
So another tweet, I'll just mention it real quick. In fact, I'll try to bring it up. I saw this on your thing, and I thought about it when I was watching SmackDown the other
humor.
night.
Yes, I haven't seen these guys in a while.
And the reason I brought it up because it was actually kind of interesting to me. Let's see if I can find it. It had to do with the bar on SmackDown the other night.
I like the one they just had there about Limp Bizkit. It was the pancakes smell like hot dog water. I think it was. It made me think of Limp Bizkit and the hot dog flavor water. What was it? Chocolate Starfish and the hot dog flavor water. I think was the album, if I'm not mistaken.
So let me see if I can try to pull this up real quick.
The bar
I made their return, and I kind of thought of this when I saw them, and I literally read this tweet right here. It says, "We don't just set the bar; we forget the bar are a tag team on our programming."
That's pretty good.
Because I mean, as soon as they came out, I was like, where have these guys been?
Yeah,
I forgot they were here. Took me by surprise.
Yeah,
so,
me too.
Either way, that's going to do it for our social media Smackdown of the week. If you haven't followed us on YouTube yet, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at Heel to the Face. That's where you'll get all the links to our YouTube and anything else you want to follow, including our Twitter questions of the week. And we'll try to post our tweets of the week as well. So subscribe to us on YouTube and follow Icebreaker21 and myself, Jared Wicks, on Twitter.